Senator Comerford.
President, and through you to our colleagues. Thanks are due today to the distinguished chair of the Transportation Committee, the gentleman from Lynn, Mr. Crichton, and the distinguished chair of our Bonding Committee in Capital Expenditures and State Assets, the gentleman from Lowell, Mr. Kennedy. Madam President, I want to particularly raise up the gentleman from Westport, the able and thoughtful leader of the Senate Committee on Ways and Means, for his and his team's careful work on this bill and the language approved by the committee, which centers rural communities. And heartfelt thanks, of course, to Senate President and her team for again hearing the calls to action from municipal leaders in rural Western Massachusetts and responding with great timeliness, depth, and care. I rise in strong support of this bill. The legislation provides crucial funding for urgent road and bridge projects throughout the Commonwealth. But for anyone who's driven through my district, and there are thousands of road miles to drive, the need for these funds are as obvious as a giant pothole. I particularly want to praise the Senate's addition of $25 million in grant funds targeted to the needs of rural communities, weighting the funds toward road miles where road miles count. Now, I know Boston didn't have a lot of snow this winter. That was not the case in my district. Just over 2 weeks ago, a number of towns in my district received over 24 inches of snow, some getting as much as 38 inches just in one storm. Now, I've stayed in touch with the town coordinators and DPW directors given the winter's snowfall. The Hatfield DPW director wrote that, quote, due to the late storms, we have a lot of roads that have fallen apart and a lot of tree damage. With the costs of asphalt rising and the Chapter 90 funding staying the same, we will never catch up. The Greenfield DPW director told us, due to many freezes and thaw cycles, our roads have, shown accelerated deterioration, and our pavement management program is really in shambles. Additionally, Madam President, I join with those interested in a conversation about how we allocate funding and how much we allocate for local road projects going forward. First, I would suggest that we should put on the agenda the amount of assistance that's authorized each year. The base amount we are providing to our communities has been static, as my colleagues know, for many years, yet costs are up for everything. Weather events are getting more extreme, putting more stress on roads and bridges and cleanup. And rural municipalities have many dirt and gravel roads, making up more than 30% of a municipality's road network in some instances in my district. 30% of a city and town's roads are dirt and gravel. And this, of course, is exacerbated by climate change, the erosion and the disrepair of these roads. Second, I would respectfully suggest that we have to begin a discussion about the base Chapter 90 formula that is used to distribute these funds. The current formula was established more than 50 years ago. The formula takes into account road mileage, but also population and employment. But this doesn't work for the places that don't have the people, but do have the miles and miles of roads. Adjusting the base Chapter 90 formula to put more emphasis on road mileage is something that I respectfully urge us to consider. And I know this is not a new conversation in this Senate. The governor's proposed funding for municipalities for design and engineering of projects that are eligible for federal grants is another key piece to this puzzle. So is increased funding for the replacement and upgrade of culverts. And if you had asked me in 2018 if I would be devoted to culverts as I am right now, I would have told you no. But now I see the intense need. I strongly urge the Senate to approve the amendment proposed by the committee. I thank the chair, the Senate President, and the chair of the Transportation Committee, and I urge us to join the House in unanimously adopting and approving this bill. Thank you so much, Madam President.